In the middle of Hong Kong, there was a very busy place called the Kowloon District. Big, shiny buildings touched the sky, while small, crowded alleys were full of people talking, laughing, and selling yummy street food. Bright neon signs glowed in many colors, lighting up the streets like rainbows. But in one quiet corner of this noisy city, there was an old martial arts school. It didn't look like much from the outside, but it was very special. This was Master Wung's dojo. A dojo is a place where people learn how to fight using martial arts. The building was old, with wooden floors that made squeaky sounds when you walked on them. Red lanterns hung from the ceiling, but they were a little faded now. It smelled a bit like incense and medicine. On the walls were pictures of students from many years ago. In the pictures, they looked proud and happy, like they had just won a big match. That night, something very exciting was happening. It was the dojo's open challenge night. That meant people from all over the city could come and fight to see who was the best. Some were really good martial artists, while others were tough street fighters who had learned to fight in the alleyways. Everyone wanted to show what they could do. The dojo was full of people. Some were there to fight. Others were just watching. There was so much noise, people cheering, talking, and the sound of fists punching pads as fighters warmed up. Just then, a young man walked into the dojo. His name was Jin Hai, and he was only 28 years old, but already very famous in the martial arts world. He walked like he knew he was the best. He was tall and thin, with a bald head and a big dragon tattoo that curled up his arm. He looked strong and fast. Jin Hai had trained in many kinds of martial arts. He knew Shaolin Kung Fu, which was very powerful. He knew Hung Gar, which was sharp and strong. And he even used moves from Tai Chi, which flowed like water. Jin Hai had won lots of matches in tournaments. People really looked up to him. He didn't come alone. Behind him were his students, all wearing the same black uniforms. They looked like a group of wolves ready to follow their leader. Jin Hai was very sure of himself. Some might even say he was a little too confident. He liked to talk big and show off. Tonight, he wanted to prove he was the best in all of Hong Kong. As he looked around the room, his eyes stopped on someone sitting quietly in the back. It was an older man, sitting with Master Wung, drinking tea and smiling gently. The man looked like he was around 55 years old. He had a shaved head, a strong face with lines that showed he had worked hard in life, and he wore a simple black jacket and jeans. He didn't look like someone who would fight. He just blended in with the crowd. But something about him seemed special. Jin Hai stared for a second, but then shrugged. Just another tourist, he thought. Probably here to take pictures. Who's that old guy? Jin Hai whispered to his top student, Run. Run looked at the man and shrugged. I dunno. Maybe someone who took a karate class once and thinks he's tough. Jin Hai grinned and said, Perfect. Maybe I'll make him wish he never came. But what Jin Hai didn't know was that the quiet man was actually Jason Statham, a famous Hollywood action movie star. He was in Hong Kong to make a new film. People all over the world had seen him in movies where he fought bad guys, jumped out of cars, and did amazing stunts. But Jason wasn't just an actor. He had trained in real martial arts for many years. He had a black belt in Kyokushin karate, which is very hard. He had learned Wing Wung from Master Wung a long time ago. He even trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is all about grappling and ground fighting. He had fought real fighters and had real bruises to prove it. Jason didn't come to fight tonight. He just wanted to visit his old friend Master Wung and watch the matches. He liked to stay quiet and out of the spotlight, but he had seen Jin Hai's loud entrance. He had watched Jin Hai show off and brag in front of everyone. Jason didn't say anything, but he noticed everything. The first match started, and it was very exciting. Fighters jumped, kicked, punched, and wrestled. The dojo was filled with shouting and clapping. Then it was Jin Hai's turn. Everyone stopped to watch. His first opponent was a Muay Thai fighter, a big man with strong legs and hard kicks. But Jin Hai moved so fast. He dodged every kick and hit back with perfect strikes. Then he spun around and hit the man with a back fist. Boom! The man fell to the mat. The crowd clapped and cheered. Next, Jin Hai fought a judo expert. The judo fighter tried to throw him, but Jin Hai was ready. He used the judo man's own move against him and flipped him to the ground. Another win. After each match, Jin Hai bowed to the crowd, but then said something silly to show off. Who's next? He shouted. Is that all you got, Hong Kong? The crowd loved it. His students cheered loudest of all. Then Jin Hai walked to the center of the mat again. He was breathing hard, sweat dripping from his forehead, but he was smiling. He looked around the room and suddenly pointed straight at Jason. Hey you, he yelled. Old guy in the back. You look like you've seen a few fights. How about stepping up? Or are you just here to watch the real fighters? Everyone went quiet. Even the sound of people clapping stopped. Master Wing looked a little worried. He looked at Jason, his old friend, and gave a small frown. Jason just smiled and kept sipping his tea. I'm good, mate, he said in his British accent. Just enjoying the show. Jinhai laughed and turned to the crowd. Ha! Just another tourist who watched a Bruce Lee movie and thinks he knows martial arts. I bet he's never thrown a real punch in his life. Jinhai's students laughed. Some people in the crowd laughed too, but a little nervously. Something didn't feel right. Master Wing leaned toward Jason and whispered, You don't have to do this, Jason. He's young and full of pride. Let him be. Jason was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at Jinhai with calm, serious eyes. He had trained for many years, not just for fun or movies, but because he loved martial arts. He had taken real hits, broken bones, and pushed through pain. He didn't like to fight for no reason, but he didn't like disrespect either. Jinhai wasn't just being rude to him. He was being rude to all the hard work and training that every martial artist went through. Jason stood up slowly and took off his jacket. His muscles showed through his shirt. He looked strong, but not like a bodybuilder. He looked like someone who had trained every day for years. All right, Jason said calmly. Let's have a go. The crowd cheered loudly. Everyone knew something amazing was about to happen. Jason walked onto the mat and faced Jinhai. Jinhai looked surprised for a second, but then smiled like it was going to be easy. Try not to break a hip, Jinhai joked. Jason didn't answer. He just got into his fighting stance, smooth, simple, focused. Master Wing rang the small gong. Ding! The match had started. Jinhai ran forward fast, throwing a sharp kick. Jason stepped aside and blocked it easily. Then Jinhai threw a punch. Jason ducked and countered with a quick strike to the ribs. Jinhai grunted and backed up. He tried again, moving faster, mixing in moves from his many styles. But Jason wasn't falling for it. He moved like water, calm, cool, and always one step ahead. Every time Jinhai attacked, Jason was ready. He used Wing Wung blocks, karate strikes, and jiu-jitsu footwork. He didn't try to hurt Jinhai badly, just show him that he wasn't the only great fighter in the room. Then, in one fast move, Jason stepped inside Jinhai's guard, trapped his arm, and gently, but firmly, swept him off his feet. Jinhai landed on the mat with a thud. The room went quiet again. Jason stepped back and offered Jinhai a hand. Jinhai looked up, surprised, but took it. Jason pulled him up. That was good, Jinhai said softly, out of breath. You're good too, Jason said kindly. But always remember, there's always someone better. Stay humble. Jinhai nodded slowly. His students didn't laugh now. They looked at Jason with wide eyes, full of respect. The crowd began to clap. Then they cheered. Loudly. Master Wing smiled from the corner. That night, no trophy was given. No belt was won. But something more important happened. Jinhai learned a big lesson. A lesson about respect, hard work, and the true meaning of martial arts. And the crowd? They got to see something they would never forget. A quiet visitor. A loud champion. And a fight that taught everyone the power of calm strength. Master Wing sighed. He didn't look happy, but he nodded his head. Then he walked to the center of the big mat in the middle of the dojo. 3 rounds, Master Wing said loudly. Clean sparring. No dirty tricks. Stop when I say stop. Jinhai smiled with a big grin and cracked his knuckles like he was ready to fight. Statham rolled his shoulders slowly. He moved calmly, like he had done this many times before. Then the bell rang. Ding! The fight started. Jinhai ran forward fast, like a storm. He kicked Statham's legs and chest again and again. His moves were super quick. He mixed Shaolin and Hunger Kung Fu, hitting fast and strong. He wanted to make Statham lose early. But Statham stayed calm. He didn't look scared. He moved his feet carefully, just enough to dodge or block each attack. He used his karate skills to stay safe. Jinhai tried a big roundhouse kick that cut through the air fast. But Statham stepped to the side and blocked it in a smooth way. Jinhai wobbled a little and looked surprised. People watching the fight made quiet sounds. They were impressed. The older man Statham wasn't just standing there, he was smart and calm. Jinhai looked upset now. He kicked faster. His punches got harder. He spun and tried a high heel kick to Statham's head. He had knocked people out before with that move. Everyone gasped. But Statham ducked at the right moment. Then bam! He hit Jinhai in the chest with a strong, short punch. It wasn't fancy, but it was powerful. That's the kind of punch from Kyokushin karate. Jinhai stumbled backward. His eyes showed something new doubt. He had thought this older man was just lucky. But now he knew Statham was really good. Round 2. In the second round, Jinhai changed his plan. He came in close this time. He wanted to use his Wing Wung style. His hands moved super fast, punching again and again like a blur. But Statham didn't panic. He had learned Wing Wung 2 many years ago from Master Wung. He knew how to deal with this. He copied Jinhai's fast rhythm, but he used smooth moves. His hands flowed like water. He didn't fight hard, he just moved smart. He blocked and redirected every punch, barely moving. Everyone watching got quiet. Their eyes were wide. The two fighters moved like they were dancing, fast and sharp. Then Jinhai made a mistake. He tried a wild elbow strike. It was risky. Statham saw the opening and took it. He swept Jinhai's leg out from under him. Thump. And Jinhai hit the mat hard. The dojo shook with loud cheers. Everyone was amazed. But Statham didn't brag. He didn't yell or raise his fists. He just stepped back and held out a hand to help Jinhai get up. Jinhai's face turned red. He felt embarrassed. He slapped the hand away and stood up quickly. "You just got lucky, old man," he shouted, his voice shaking with anger. The crowd felt the change. Jinhai's loud, proud attitude was starting to break. Round 3. The last round was the toughest. This was a battle of hearts and minds now. Jinhai was angry. He stopped thinking and just started attacking. He used punches, elbows, and knees. He mixed Kung Fu and Muay Thai. He wanted to crush Statham. Statham stayed calm. His face didn't show fear or anger. He moved like someone who had done this many times before. He blocked, dodged, and kept his balance. Then Jinhai made another mistake. He threw a wild punch. Statham grabbed his arm quickly and twisted it. In one smooth move, he pulled Jinhai to the ground and locked his arm into a Brazilian jiu-jitsu move called an armbar. Jinhai gasped. His arm hurt. He slapped the mat over and over. Tap, tap, tap. Master Wung stepped forward. "Stop," he said. "The match is over." The room went totally quiet for a second. Then boom. The whole dojo cheered and clapped loudly. Statham let go of the hold and stood up. He bowed politely. He didn't smile or show off. Jinhai stayed on the mat for a while. He was breathing hard. His brain was spinning. He had been so sure he was better than everyone. But now he had lost to someone he thought was a nobody. Master Wung walked up. He smiled and said, "This is Jason Statham. He's a black belt in karate, trained in Wing Wung, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and more. You might know him from the movies. But here, he's no stranger to the mat." The crowd gasped again. Some people pulled out their phones. Others whispered, realizing who Statham really was. Jinhai looked shocked. He felt the heavy weight of his mistake. Statham held out his hand again. His face was calm, kind, but serious. "No hard feelings, mate," he said. "You've got real skill. I just need a little more humility." Jinhai stared at the hand. His heart felt heavy. His pride was fighting with what he knew was true. The whole room watched quietly. Finally, Jinhai took the hand and shook it. His grip was strong, but his eyes looked down. It was a small handshake, but it meant a big lesson was learned. After a while, people started to leave. Master Wung walked over and clapped Statham on the shoulder. "You didn't have to do that, Jason," he said. His voice was warm and proud. "But I'm glad you did. That boy needed it." Statham gave a small shrug. He smiled just a little. "Sometimes," he said, "the best way to teach is to show." He looked over at Jinhai, who was now surrounded by his students. They weren't cheering. They were whispering, asking quiet questions. Statham didn't feel angry at Jinhai. Not at all. He just hoped the young fighter would grow from this. Jinhai stayed in the dojo, even after most people were gone. He sat on the mat and stared at the wooden floor. His face looked thoughtful. He was going over the whole fight in his head again and again. Every punch, every mistake. His students stood nearby. They didn't know what to say. They thought he'd be mad. Maybe yell. Maybe make excuses. But Jinhai said nothing. He didn't feel loud anymore. He didn't feel proud. He felt something new, reflection. He had made a mistake. He had thought he was the best just because he was young and famous in the area. He thought no one could beat him. But Statham was different. He showed real skill, real calm, and real respect. Jinhai had never faced something like that before. He now understood. True strength wasn't about never losing. It was about learning from every win and every loss. Jinhai stood up slowly. His students looked at him, waiting. "Tomorrow," he said. His voice was steady, but softer than usual. "We train harder. No shortcuts. No ego. His students nodded. They felt something was different. Their teacher was changing. Yes, the defeat hurt. But it had lit a new fire inside him. A fire to be better, to respect the art of fighting, and to never look down on anyone again. Outside, Statham walked through the warm, busy night of Hong Kong. Bright lights glowed all around. People were taking pictures, whispering, sharing videos of the match online. But Statham didn't care about any of that. He hadn't come to prove he was famous. He hadn't come to win fans. He came to honor the martial arts, the training, the discipline, the respect. It was never just about beating someone. It was about learning, teaching, and growing. He disappeared into the streets, quiet and alone, just another shadow in the neon light. Behind him, the dojo stood still, full of quiet energy. It would always remember what happened that night, a night when two fighters from different worlds met, clashed, and both walked away changed. What did you think of the story? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, and let's chat. If you enjoyed the journey, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next adventure. Thanks for being part of this one, and until next time, stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring the unknown.